It's been a total of 5 years since I picked up a camera and decided that I wanted to be a content creator. And the question I'm reminded of when I'm shooting sunrise that I often ask myself is, what would I do if I weren't afraid to chase my biggest dreams? And the answer to that question is enough to keep me going through whatever challenges I may be facing as a content creator at that time, because I've spent the last 5 years being a full-time content creator. And while the social media narrative of what a content creator is makes you think that it's this unbelievable life full of adventure that is just nonstop fun, I can honestly say that it is actually filled with a lot of challenges that inevitably do lead to some pretty remarkable rewards that I otherwise wouldn't have had if I hadn't pursued this life. And I think it's time we actually acknowledge that there is this balance between the two, and that it is probably the reason why so many people enjoy being a content creator.
And so it seems to me today that pretty much almost anybody will tell you that they want to be a content creator. And I think it has something to do probably with the highlight reel that we're all constantly seeing on social media of what it actually means to be a content creator. And so that's why I wanted to make today's video, and it's specifically geared to that beginner content creator to learn all of the lessons that I wish I knew when I was first starting out. And so as a quick backstory, let me tell you a little bit about how we got here. To get to this point of working with large brands on their social media strategies and content creation, doing these brand deals and having paid trips, everything I did started back in my Masters of International Business 5 years ago when I bought a camera to travel to the Netherlands with and take photos with me and my friends traveling at the end of our school studies. Little did I know, taking those photos and posting it on Instagram would grow into a following slowly but surely that would allow me to quit my full-time job and take content creation seriously, posting on Instagram pretty much every day now, and now starting to grow a YouTube channel. And so there have been 5 massive takeaways then that have helped me all navigate it and are essentially my 5 biggest learning lessons along the way that I want to share with you today if you're considering this as something you want to do. Oh, and also I want to mention that today's entire video is actually shot in Ottawa, a little change up from Toronto, but it's for a very specific reason. And we're going to be going along in a little bit of like a vlog style to some of my favorite spots in the city to both take photos and check some things out.
My biggest takeaway from being a content creator is realizing that if I'm not constantly creating content or designing new adventures, my presence on social media does in fact fade to some degree. But I absolutely love what I do, and this is what keeps me motivated. Obviously, this conversation can go into burnout, but you need to figure out what's sustainable for you, create within your own limits, and then eventually push yourself to get 1% better every day.
The whole reason we do a lot of this is to really find those new experiences, put ourselves in those uncomfortable situations, and make opportunities happen for us that literally wouldn't have existed if we didn't put in the effort. And this habit of pushing yourself is something you have to really embody in every stage of your life cycle as a content creator. And it's exactly why we're at the Museum of Nature today, because there is one photo that I've always wanted to take here since I first was learning how to do photography and videography in the beginning. I saw a tutorial here about symmetry, and I've gone completely out of my way in terms of the time, the effort, the money to come here to Ottawa to grab some of those first few photos I remember seeing when I was learning how to do that in order to keep pushing myself. The idea behind that photo is essentially to have somebody, which in this case is gonna be me, walk from left to right up into the center of the staircase here, and then framing them up between these 2 pillars. You can have your subject basically subframed symmetrically in this entire atrium to lead to a really cool photo. And it probably looks something like this. And the difficult part then about being a content creator is understanding that these little missions that you give for yourself to make content, whether it's a new gym you're gonna go to if you're a fitness content creator to make cooler, more aesthetic content in, or if you're a photographer, videographer like me, literally just making trips happen to build your portfolio, is that somehow, some way, there's gonna be some weird payout that's completely unexpected at the end of it. at the very least, as a result of being a content creator, you get a lot of really cool experiences, and a lot of things happen that otherwise wouldn't have if you weren't trying to make content in the first place. But that reward, that like financial incentive side of it, is something that you need to think of as an end effect, a more nice to have than the actual reason for doing it in the first place. And that's because if you're focusing on the things that matter, like telling a good story, building your brand, and actually providing value with your content, the end rewards will come. And so your job as a content creator is to make it happen. Whatever your ideas are, however you want to bring those to life, if you're not the one driving that conversation, opportunities aren't going to happen to you because you first need to make those opportunities happen for yourself. And so that's my one nugget is you're the driver of your life in this instance. And that's both the scary and empowering thing about being a content creator. Now, that's going to take us to lesson number 2, which is if you're always pushing yourself, seeking those opportunities, what does that mean for a lifestyle? Well, I like to say that it means that you need to live life creatively because that's the only way you're going to make it work. Now, I have taken more photos in Toronto over the last 3 to 4 years than probably most people would take in a decade. And the reason why is because I would probably basically go out to shoot street photography 3-4 nights a week for the longest time. And I built up this catalog of photos in the same location that I would go to over and over and over again. And so that's why this video is actually in Ottawa. I think travel is a big source of inspiration for so many different content creators. And what a content creator wants their story to be about changes over time. And because I've shot so much photography in Toronto, I think I've really told Toronto's story over the years, going through the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic. I have this catalog of photos that shows just how much the city's changed. I have photos that don't even exist anymore because of the construction that's gone on in the city. And so now being in Ottawa, this next part of the video is actually at the Museum of Canadian History. And the reason why is because I want my sort of collection of work and what I do as a content creator to go bigger than just Toronto and explore Canada. And I wanted to start in the capital with today's video as a way to sort of practice a new style of content that I'm working on. More importantly, learn about the country that I call home. Because I really do believe that Canada is a very, very, very special place. I have absolutely loved being a Canadian. I've traveled Canada. I think it's extremely underrated. And I know that there are stories that need to be told, and I want to be a part of telling them. So I'm going to pop in to the Museum of Natural History now, see what I can find some cool locations for photos, because there's a beautiful atrium here I've always wanted to grab some photography of. And then I'm going to head on over to a different part of the city. So let's see what we can get. And so even when I think about the top people that I sort of look up to as content creators, whether that's the Peter McKinnons of the world or the Carl Shakurs, the OMG Adrians, it all comes back to looking at how they got to where they got and what their lifestyle looks like. The one thing that I found from looking at their material is that there is this relentless obsession with designing their own life to fit to their creative pursuits. And that is exactly what a creative lifestyle is about, that can enable you to become a successful content creator. And personally, I believe that's the number one differentiator between someone who says they're going to be a content creator and someone who actually becomes a successful one, is that ability to mold your own life to the craft that you're looking to hone. Another point that might be worthwhile in mentioning is the fact that all of the sort of most successful content creators have an aspect of travel in the mix of what they do. And again, that's another reason why we're starting this new series in Ottawa, because I think if you are passionate about creativity, you'll find inspiration across different destinations that you go to. But I do want to just preface, because this is a conversation I want to have later in this video, that travel is probably the very fastest way to getting that sort of creative burnout you might hear about, because it's very easy to book a bunch of plane tickets, get obsessed with the performance of your next travel post, and get no sleep, only care about the metrics on your social media content, and then potentially fizzle out from there. And so for a content creator, more often than not, from my own personal experience and from those I talk to, the only way you're gonna live that creative lifestyle, if you do integrate that travel component, is by living this sort of unconventional life. And that's something that you need to get comfortable with for sure. If you're wanting to pursue something like this, there's nothing normal about it. It is a grind. You have to put in the effort, and you have to be willing to take those unconventional lifestyle risks. And so that's going to take us then to probably everybody's favorite topic, which is, what gear do you need if you want to live that creative life? All right, so lesson number 3 is that gear doesn't matter until it actually does. And what I mean by that is, when you're first starting out as a content creator, the easiest thing to get tripped up about is, what camera should I buy? What stabilization device do I need to make my video smoother? What tripod should I get so that I have all the features that I need? And honestly, those are all the wrong things that you need to worry about, because so often they're the things that stop somebody from actually getting started. And so the trick then is to just accept to use what is most accessible for you in the beginning, because there are so many different things that you need to be thinking about and practicing on before you actually need to worry about leveling up your gear. And I always tell everybody this, but the number one device that you should be using for early days content creation is your smartphone. And if you are looking for a separate video that's about the best beginner content creator camera, I'm happy to make one of those. But my quick answer is the Sony a7 IV. So if you have any questions about that, comment down below. Let me know what it is that you're wondering about. All right, so then why would I recommend an iPhone 15 Pro or a smartphone as the first camera for a content creator? It literally comes down to only a few things. Number one's obviously that camera we talked about at the beginning. It's simply just incredible for on-the-go photography wherever you need it. The second reason is the video. 4K 30 and 60 FPS on an iPhone is incredible for social media content creation purposes, especially when it comes to short form video. YouTube, you might start noticing some differences, as a lot of channels lately are getting highly cinematic, but for run and gun, short form TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts, it's perfect. And the third reason is the biggest reason, and that is its on-camera stabilization. It stabilizes everything with AI, whereas a traditional sort of mirrorless camera, most of them still are using in-body stabilization with a gimbal inside that actually stabilizes the sensor rather than the footage itself. The iPhone stabilizes your footage as it's being shot using AI. So that just makes it incredibly smooth and easy to use handheld. That's the main reason why I recommend it, because it eliminates the need for any other tools. It's simple, it looks great, and you can use it wherever you need to. And so that's why you can't discount an iPhone in the early days of content creation, because it is so incredible for the early content creation and the simpler things you're gonna create in the beginning than actually needing to go out and buy professional gear. So if you're looking for any full videos on gear comparisons or gear reviews, comment down below, let me know what you wanna see, and I'm happy to make that happen. So we're gonna continue making some photos and videos around Ottawa as the sun goes down, and then come back in tomorrow morning for lesson number 4. So we've kind of talked about it a little bit already, but social media burnout is very, very real. And that's why I tell new content creators to make sure that they're following the rule of one for you, one for them. And this is something I picked up from somebody called Sarah Dishi. She doesn't really post too much anymore, but she had this thing where everything she posted on her YouTube channel would follow this principle, where one video was dedicated to growing subscribers, getting views, getting likes, and then the other video that she would then post after that one was for her. It was something she wanted to make. It maybe was a vlog, it was a little short film, but something that would keep her inspired to continue making content. And it might not seem pretty evident at first if this is something new to you, but it's pretty clear that to an experienced content creator, the only way you're going to continue to fuel yourself is if you really, really dig into your passions. But obviously, as you grow and you start doing this more and more, it does get the appeal of becoming a business. And when something's a business, you're basically only focusing on results. A lot of the confusion then comes, though, with how do you maintain your sort of personality in the art form of actually making content? Because the reality is that you are a person, not just some sort of faceless organization, and that's where this rule really comes into play. Typically, though, those passion projects that you do don't get nearly as many views as the work that does get you results for your business. And that's really the hard part, is because all you want to do is post content that gets the most amount of views, the most amount of engagement, the most amount of time. And that is surefire the fastest way to burnout. Take it from me, I've had experience with this. I've had friends that have experienced this, and it is the number one thing that you don't want to do if you do want to make this a long-term career path. And so the hard part, but the necessary part, is to acknowledge that you need to have the work that fuels you integrated into your content mix if you're then going to be able to create the work that gets you the results over the long term, sustainably. And that's really the key to all of this, is what do you need to do to be the most sustainable, effective version of yourself, producing the best ideas for the longest period of time. And that is following that one for you, one for them rule. And so that is exactly what we're going to do next. I have always wanted to go inside the House of Commons, and I've literally booked an A40 tour to be able to do that, to just kind of follow my curiosity, see what it looks like, get inside the House of Commons. It sounds hilariously nerdy, but I don't know. It's something I've always wanted to do, and it is taking the time to do one thing for you, one thing for them, because inevitably what fuels you will be able to help you provide more value and make you a better creator for the people you're trying to have your content reach. Now, I honestly have no idea if I'm actually allowed to bring a camera into the House of Commons. I have a very funny feeling I'm not allowed to be able to do that. So this might just be a little quick trip, and then we're going to talk about tip number 5. So let's get on into it. And so that is going to take us to the last lesson of today's video. Unfortunately, you couldn't bring cameras inside Parliament, so I snapped a few photos on my phone while I was there. I really wish I could have taken some more videos. It would have been really, really cool. But still, I thought about this segment of the video while we were in there. And it's basically that probably the biggest thing that I've learned, honestly, is that you can't focus on the past as a content creator. Instead, you always need to be thinking about your future. And there are a few reasons why this is such a big lesson that I want to talk about. So we're going to sit down to do that, because I figure the last part of this video, I want to make it a little bit of a sit down chat and keep it a little bit more informal. So let's see what this looks like here. Essentially, why this is such a big part of, I think, being a content creator is because along the way, you're going to have so many different stumbling blocks and challenges that you're going to come to, that it's very easy to dwell on those mistakes and think that they're the reason for maybe a missed brand deal, a missed opportunity, a missed project, slower follower growth than you wanted, different things along those lines that sort of lead to this idea that you're just not doing enough and not doing enough correctly. And I can tell you from experience that that is absolutely the wrong way about thinking about things. It's not that you're not doing enough correctly or, whatever it might be. Often I think it comes down to sort of this overthinking issue. And overthinking as a content creator comes from thinking just about the past way too much and what can be done differently, what could have been done better, what led to all of these reasons why I didn't achieve my goals. And instead, I think it's just a lot more productive to think about the future and what it is exactly you need to improve on. Because if you didn't achieve your goals, I think as fast as you wanted to, it's probably not isolated to some sort of challenge, but it's just probably because I think skills aren't necessarily there yet. And that's definitely the case for myself. I've experienced rapid growths of social media success, and I've also experienced huge slumps that are, moments where you debate if you even want to keep going or not. And I think the thing that separates a successful content creator versus an unsuccessful one is always thinking about the future through reflecting on what could have been done differently in the past, but then only focusing on executing going forward. And so if you have that consistency, that drive to just keep on posting and not stopping, that will be the thing that will dramatically set you apart as a content creator. In my experience, is the haves and the have-nots. The only thing that separates them is that the haves kept going when the have-nots quit. And I think about that quote a lot, where the only way you can fail is if you quit. It's 100% the case with being a content creator, because everybody, I believe, has their thing. It's just a matter of getting to the point where you can realize the sort of potential of the thing you're trying to do. And whether that's a period of time where you're not seeing any success on social media because you're practicing with your camera or not, or whatever it might be, you have to go through that initial bout, and it will work out if you just keep going. And I can speak about that from experience. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this sort of format of today's video. It's very different than what I'm used to. I've been wanting to make something a little bit different lately, and I have ideas on how I want to fix this going forward as well. Any thoughts, comments, ideas, please put them down below. I'd love to know what you thought about all of this. And of course, there are other ones coming. I know for myself, taking that future thinking mindset into perspective, I'm going to be focusing on that bigger goal I kind of teased earlier, which is seeing more of Canada, telling more Canadian stories, capturing that, and going forward. And that's really what I want this channel to be about. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you all in the next one.